Have you ever wondered how a small island nation managed to control a quarter of the world's landmass and its population? Our story begins in the late 16th century. The British Empire, a name that would come to symbolize power and dominion, was just a fledgling entity, embarking on a journey of global exploration and expansion. The establishment of colonies in the Americas and the Caribbean marked the early chapters of this ambitious venture. These new lands, rich in resources, opened up lucrative avenues of trade and wealth accumulation. They formed the cornerstone of Britain's burgeoning global influence. But the empire's reach was not confined to the West. Their eyes were set on the exotic riches of the East too. This is where the East India Company enters our narrative. This powerful trading corporation, established in the early 17th century, was instrumental in expanding Britain's foothold in Asia. Through a mix of diplomacy, trade, and occasionally force, the company secured key regions in India, acting as a proxy for the British Crown on the subcontinent. The 19th century brought with it a wave of changes that would further propel the empire's growth. The Industrial Revolution, a period of rapid industrialization and technological advancement, provided Britain with the tools to extend its influence even further. The empire became a global hub of production and innovation, its factories and mills humming with ceaseless activity. Around the same time, the scramble for Africa was unfolding. This frenzied rush to claim the resource-rich continent saw the British Empire expand its territories southward. By the close of the 19th century, Britain had established control over vast swaths of Africa, adding to its already colossal global footprint. By the dawn of the 20th century, the British Empire had become the largest in history, but as we know, nothing lasts forever. Our tale of rise and expansion is just the beginning. As we'll explore in the following scenes, even the mightiest empires are not immune to the ebb and flow of history. The sun that never set began to dip below the horizon. So, what led to the decline of this vast empire? The fall of the British Empire wasn't an overnight event. It was a gradual process, a slow deflation of influence and power that spanned decades. The 20th century brought with it numerous challenges that shook the very foundation of the empire. The two world wars played a significant role in this decline. The cost of these wars was astronomical, draining the empire's resources and leaving the economy beleaguered. Britain emerged victorious, but at a steep price. By the end of the Second World War, the country was deep in debt and struggling to maintain its colonies. Simultaneously, the winds of change were blowing across the colonies. The rise of nationalism was another significant factor that contributed to the fall of the British Empire. The colonized nations were no longer willing to accept foreign rule. They started demanding their rights, asserting their identities, and pushing for self-determination. This was most evident in India, the jewel in the crown of the British Empire. In 1947, after a long struggle, India gained its independence, setting a precedent for other colonies. This sparked a wave of independence movements around the world. The process of decolonization had begun. Over the next few decades, one by one, the colonies broke away from the empire. The cost of maintaining these colonies and the growing resistance from the colonized people made the empire unsustainable. The sun was setting on the British Empire. However, even as it receded, it left behind a legacy that continues to shape our world today. By the late 20th century, the British Empire had transformed into the Commonwealth of Nations. It was no longer an empire in the traditional sense, but a political association of 54 member states, nearly all of which were former territories of the British Empire. It was a testament to its lasting influence, yet a shadow of its former self. While the empire may have fallen, its influence remains evident. But in what ways? Let's start with the English language. It's impossible to ignore the global spread of English, a legacy of the British Empire. Today, English is the de facto language of international communication used in business, science, and diplomacy. It's taught in schools worldwide and spoken by billions, either as a first or second language. Then we have the Commonwealth, an intergovernmental organization of 54 countries, mostly former territories of the British Empire. While it's not a political union, it represents a global network committed to shared values of democracy, human rights, and economic development. The British Empire also exported its legal and educational systems. The common law legal system, with its emphasis on precedent and judicial interpretation, is a cornerstone of legal practice in many former colonies. Similarly, the British-style education system, with its focus on critical thinking and broad-based knowledge, has been adopted and adapted across the globe. But the influence of the British Empire wasn't all positive. Economic exploitation was a key aspect of the empire. Many colonies were used as sources of raw materials and cheap labor, a practice that has had lasting effects on their economies. Cultural imposition was another negative impact. The British often viewed their culture as superior and sought to suppress local customs and languages, leading to a loss of cultural identity in some regions. In some cases, the empire's influence is still a source of controversy. Take the issue of borders, for instance. Many of the borders drawn by the British didn't take into account local ethnic, religious, or cultural divisions, leading to ongoing conflicts in many parts of the world. The British Empire, a story of rise and fall, has left an indelible mark on the world, both good and bad. Whether it's through the English language, the Commonwealth, or the legal and educational systems, the empire's legacy is still very much a part of our modern world. But we must also remember the negative impacts and work to address them. Because history, after all, is not just about remembering, it's about learning. The British Empire, an entity that once controlled the fate of millions, now exists only in the annals of history. It's a story of unparalleled growth, a story of a small island nation that became the world's most dominant empire. It's a tale of colonization, of countries and cultures subjugated and transformed, leaving an indelible imprint that lingers even today. Yet, it's also a narrative of decline, of an empire that crumbled as quickly as it rose, leaving a power vacuum that reshaped the world order. A testament to the ebb and flow of power, the British Empire is a stark reminder of the transience of dominion. As we reflect on this historical phenomenon, it prompts us to question, to learn, to grow. What lessons can we glean from this? How can the past guide our future actions? As we delve into the past, we gain insights for the future. And the British Empire, for all its glory and infamy, certainly provides plenty of food for thought.